Well, let's try again. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Boaties Breakfast. Technology kills me every time. I hope there's a few people watching. This is a new plan I've come up with for doing a live feed on a Saturday morning. I'd like to do it every Saturday morning about this time, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And I'm sometimes a bit worried about tying myself into every Saturday morning. It can... You never want to say you look after the kids every day, one day every day of the week, because you end up doing it your whole life. But anyway, we're here. The idea of the Boaties Breakfast is just to get people together and chat about anything to do with boats, anything that floats. And, I've got a bit of information in my head, I suppose, and I guess there's a lot of people I talk to out there that are always after a bit, so it's probably a good venue to do it. This morning, what we're going to talk about is a bit on navigation and backing up your navigation. I go back a fair way ever since I've started mucking around in boats 50 or 60 years ago now. Every time I went to sea, I used to like to navigate. So I taught myself how to do it. Most of the stuff I've done in my life has been self-taught, but I taught myself how to navigate and used it pretty extensively in the early days. A lot of people said to me, "Oh, you're crazy, Norm." Like I used to work out of Melbourne. They said, if you're going to Sydney, you just go out of the heads and turn left. If you're going to Adelaide, you go out of the heads and turn right. And my comeback always used to be, well, that's fine, unless you get out of the heads and turn left to go to Sydney, and halfway up the coast you run into some form of trouble where you're broken down or you've got a fire or you're sinking, and you call up the VMR and they ask you where you are. You've got to tell them that you're somewhere to the right or the left of Australia, because that's virtually all you know. So while we're at sea, it is really a great idea to know where you are. And with the technology that's around these days, we've got so much at our fingertips. It makes it so much easier. And look, I'm sure that with the chart plotters and the GPS that we all use today, it's opened cruising and coastal cruising and even overseas cruising up to a lot more people. Navigation, for some reason, I'm not a mathematician at all. I hate maths. And I guess when you get into celestial stuff, there's a bit of maths involved in it, but it's not really rocket science. And but it's always had that sort of mystique about it, and a lot of people wouldn't take it on. Like a lot of guys I knew when I did my boating in the early days used to virtually rely on local knowledge, or if they were doing a trip on the coast, they used to go out and just keep the coast of Australia on the left hand side and eventually find their way to Sydney. But I'd like to be a little bit more precise than that. But of course, the stuff we've got around now, it's pretty Mickey Mouse. And I think I'd cut my left arm off before I got rid of my chart plotter, because it's just so handy to have. But the only other side of that is that all of these electronic gadgets can let you down. Batteries can go flat, but that's probably not the main problem you will have, or the main concern you'll have on a boat. The chart plotter I have got is quite high end. It was quite an expensive one when I bought it, and I tell you what, the technology's got a lot cheaper these days. I think the first one I bought, they were pretty new at the time, and I think it was nearly $7 grand, where you'd buy a really good chart plotter for that these days. But the plotter I've got is pretty high end. It's a well-known brand. I won't mention it, but that's had about 5 trips to the techie. And the downside of that is, I guess, that I've got my chart plotter and my echo sounder or depth sounder combined in the one unit, which most people do have these days. And if you lose the plotter, if there's a malfunction in the technology there, you go from a $6,000 piece of gear to a lead line virtually, and that's the only way you can find your way around. So it can be a little bit of a problem. When I built the boat, this boat's 20 years old. It's a bit of a mess at the moment. I'm doing some painting, and it's a bit like a work site. I'll show you the... Okay, so you can see there's a bit of gear laying around just from painting the boat. So It's a bit like a work site at the moment, but anyway, not to worry. We'll get that done in the near future. Yeah, so if your plotter does let you down, what I can do, and the few times that it has let me down, I've just gone back to the old chart. So I pull out a paper chart and do it that way. And I guess because I taught myself in the early days to navigate that way, and had practiced it quite a bit. This is the thing, you can teach yourself to do something, but at least unless you use it regularly, it doesn't seem, well, with me anyway, it doesn't seem to stick in my head. So because I did use it quite extensively while I was cruising up and down the coast, all of the things you had to go through still stick in the head. And even now, if I had to pull out a paper chart and work a true course back to a compass course, I could just go through the ditty, and how I learned it out of the book was timid virgins make dull company. So that'd be the first thing that'd pop into my head. And the little ditty gives you from true to compass. So timid, variation, magnetic, D is for deviation, and C is for compass. So it's just a little formula for working a true course back to a compass course. But I can just pull that out of my head. The latter part of my life, the last 4 years of my life, I taught navigation at a TAFE college, and I wasn't allowed to use the ditty timid virgins make dull company. They changed it because we're all politically correct now. They changed it to TV makes dull company. So that's how we taught it. But still, if I have to pull out a pencil and a chart now and convert a course, I'll straight away go back to timid virgins make dull company. That's stuck in the head. But anyway, that's, you know, even now I'm thinking my charts are all pretty old. I've got them rolled up in a tube, something down in the bilge of the boat virtually. They probably haven't had them out for probably 4 or 5 years. They're probably mouldy as all get up, and you know, that'd be a real problem. So I'm really thinking about whether I need to keep them. And actually, I'll just show you this area here. It's got a bit of junk on it at the moment, but that's my helm seat, and that used to be a nav table. I had a half chart nav table there, and about 4 or 5 years ago, I decided it was being underutilized by heaps. It wasn't really used much at all, because with the electronic charts and that we've got, I didn't use it. So I pulled the chart table out and turned it into a helm seat, which does get used all the time now. And it's pretty important on a boat that if you've got anything virtually, it should be used. You know, my theory is anything you have on a boat should have 2 uses. It should be multifunctional. But anyway, the chart table's gone. That's a helm seat now, and we use it all the time. It works pretty well. But it just goes to show how far away we've got from the old paper charts, and they were hard work, really. As I said, I could still lift the cushion up there and lay a chart out on it and navigate that way, but why would you? It's just very hard to do. Oh, look, while I'm going along, does anyone know, I don't know if we've got anyone online, does anyone know what that is? Jump on and see if you can tell me what that is. That was a bit of kit I bought probably 30 years ago, and I thought it was fantastic when I bought it, and pretty well obsolete. They don't even make them anymore. So, but anyway, yeah, if you've got to pull a paper chart out, you can do it. But a lot of people now are navigating on electronics, and that's all they do. And it's pretty important. I remember when I was working at Bundaberg, there was a guy that I've become friendly with. He was on about a 40-foot yacht, and he was just getting the boat prepared to head back to New Zealand. And he left one morning. I gave him a hand to untie his boat, and he left one morning and headed out. And he was gone for 3 days. And the next, about 3 days later, I woke up and here he is back in the pen. And I saw him there, and I went down. I said, "How come you're back?" And he said, "Oh, my laptop broke down." And I said, "Oh, yeah, so what?" And he said, "Well, all my charts, that's the only place I had charts." And he said, I was a bit worried about missing New Zealand doing the dead reckoning thing. And he said, I had no other way of finding my way across. So he said, I was well out of the side of land, but he said, I set a course and came back and found the coast and came back up here. So he had no way of backing up his computer, and virtually had to, you know, waste a few days coming back to to land to get over that. So important to back yourself up. And look, it's pretty simple these days. I've got Navionics on the computer I'm looking at the moment. I've also got a laptop and just a little laptop, sorry, an iPad, or it's a Samsung pad, but a pad like that, you can load. I'm not sure what the price of it is now. It was very cheap when I first put it on. I think it was about $30. You can load the app for Navionics onto your iPad, and that gives you a pretty good backup. They're all battery operated, so you'd be pretty unlucky to have all your electronics go down at once. And just important to back yourself up and make sure that you've got, and that's what I do now. I just grab the pad out. If my main plotter went down, I'd grab the pad out and navigate off that, because it's just so easy. Your position's being updated every second virtually. The old way we used to do it, you'd dead reckon a fair bit, and every hour you'd fix your position. You'd take a bearing off 3 objects you could identify off the chart, take a bearing off them, work those bearings back to true, lay those lines out on the chart, and that would fix your position. So and you do that every hour, but in between that hour and the next hour, you dead reckon. So it was you'd steer a course, and you're pretty safe doing it that way. When you're in close confines, it becomes very hard, but with the GPS and chart plotters they've got around these days, it's pretty fantastic. All right, well, that's our show for today. I don't know if we've even got anyone on the side there. I've got my group chat thing open. I can't see anyone there. Does anyone out there want to give a call out, say hi or anything? I feel like I'm talking to myself. The coffee's good though in this little establishment. Oh, well, I can't see that there's anyone there. I've got some painting to do today, so I'll probably get around to doing that in a minute. The boat's just drying off. I got up a bit earlier and chamoised a lot of the water off the boat, so I'll probably set myself up and do a bit of rubbing back, and then get into a bit of painting. So I'm doing it in small patches over a few weeks. Look, we will have a go at doing this again next week. It'd be good if there'd be some people, I don't know, it might be too early for some, but it's hard to say. You either do it too early or it's too late. You're off doing something else. And I don't know, like the technology still loses me a bit, so I don't know whether I'm not getting anyone on the channel chatting, but it's not showing anything in my group chat box, so there mightn't be anyone out there, but we'll give it a try next week and see if we can get some more people interested, see what's going on. Anyway, it's been great having a chat to you this morning. We'll try it again next week and see what happens, and yeah, maybe we can turn into a good little hangout where boaties can get together every week and just talk about things. We've got a channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll put a link to it probably down here, and give it a like if you can too, because that helps us get out there. So anyway, it's been great. If anyone's watching, thanks very much, and we'll catch you next time round. Hooroo.